Welcome in, one and all, to the 2026 NFL playoffs, where there are absolutely no Super Bowl favorites and everybody has a chance to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. Okay, obviously that's a little bit of an exaggeration just because there is technically a favorite. The Seattle Seahawks are plus 375 to win the Super Bowl. The Rams are at plus 450. Like, there are technically favorites, but I mean more so in the traditional sense, like we watch the games as fans, and this year just feels different. Doesn't it? It just feels more open. It feels like everybody has a shot and you can make a compelling argument for at least 10 of the 14 teams that are in the playoffs this year. Now, obviously, a big part of that is that the reigning AFC champions for the last several years and just the best team in the AFC over the last several years in the Kansas City Chiefs, they are not a part of the playoffs this year, so that opens up the AFC in a completely new way. It is wide open over there. It's wide open in the NFC. Like I said, this is about as wide open a year as I can recall. If you want to go back like the 2021 season when the Rams beats the Bengals in the Super Bowl, I think that was probably the closest we've gotten, but even that took the Bengals upsetting those Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So this is probably as wide open a year as we've had in a long time. Or sorry, I guess it was the 2022 playoffs that the Rams beat the Bengals. It was the 2021 season, but yeah, you know what I mean. So today, my friends, we are going to be breaking down the 2026 NFL playoff picture, and we're going to be going through a reason why every single team could win the Super Bowl, and just as importantly, a reason that every team could fail to make a Super Bowl. Basically, one reason they will, one reason they won't. So strap in, folks, and let's get into it. But before we do, if I could just get you to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel when notifications turned on. Okay, now we can go ahead and get into it. So we're going to start off in the NFC with the 1 seed. We're going to go in order. So we are going to start off with the Seattle Seahawks. And now, I got to admit, I did not think the Seattle Seahawks would be the 1 seed even halfway through the season. I had a lot of doubts, and Seahawk fans were sure to tell me how stupid I was because, I mean, look at me. But great job by the Seahawks down the stretch. They had some huge wins over the Niners, over the Rams to secure the 1 seed, secure that division, and now they secure a bye. And that has been led by, well, aside from the Rams game, I guess this doesn't apply, but their defense is their best asset. They have one of the most athletic defenses in the entire league. I've never seen a team play nickel so much, so frequently, and so effectively throughout the season. They're still one of the best run defenses in the league, despite how much they play nickel, and it's been honestly really fun to watch. Overall, the Seahawks are 6th in total defense in terms of yards allowed per game. They're 10th in pass defense, and they are 3rd in rush defense this season. But more importantly, they are the number 1 scoring defense in the sense that they allow the fewest points per game at just 17.2. So even when teams are chewing up yards against them, they are doing mostly a good job at limiting touchdowns and allowing field goals in the red zone, with the caveat that that Rams Carnival game that went to overtime, that was an anomaly for this defense. They have been unreal all season, and that is the number 1 reason for optimism. Now, as for the 1 reason for concern, this is kind of obvious, and this is the sentiment I've been getting from Seahawks fans throughout the season, but this is also just my biggest concern. Having watched this guy with the Vikings last year as a Lions fan, I remember what he was like in Week 18 in the biggest game of the year last year. It's Sam Darnold. I have serious concerns about his ability to live up to the spotlight, or at least live up to the big moments. Again, going back to last year, very similar situation where Week 18, division and the 1 seed was on the line, Vikings versus Lions, and Darnold delivered his worst game of the season, routinely missing receivers. He always overthrows high when he misses his guys, and he just had overall a bad game against the Lions in Week 18, which forced the Vikings to play a wildcard game against the Rams where he was no better. He turned the ball over, and the Vikings, they go from a 14-2 team fighting for the 1 seed to being out on wildcard weekend. It was just a disaster, and Sam Darnold was at the center of it. Now, obviously, Sam Darnold has had a great season, and there is reason to believe that he can at least manage the game and just be fine, just be passable. That's honestly what you're looking for, is the defense to ball out and Darnold to just not turn the ball over. That's the name of the game here, but that is the number 1 reason for concern. Next up, we got the 2 seed Chicago Bears, the NFC North champions, which, as a Lions fan, just hurts my soul to say a little bit, but the Bears come into the playoffs boasting one of the best run games in all of of football, and that is led by a fantastic offensive line and an incredibly diverse run scheme that they run. They run a lot of duo and outside zone with DeAndre Swift in there, a lot of inside zone and power with Kyle Monangai, and again, that offensive line is fantastic, especially on the ground. And as a result, with the third best run game in the league, averaging 144.5 yards on the ground per game, the Bears also boast a incredible play action game because the run is so effective, and that sets up the play action. And that's where Caleb Williams is at his best. When he's on the move, he's able to threaten with his legs, and he has just got such a fantastic control of the velocity on his passes. He can layer throws, honestly, like few QBs in the league can. And that's kind of where the offense, as long as Caleb is balling out and playing well, the Bears are going to be able to move the ball. But as for the downsides for the Bears, it's kind of twofold. Number one is that defense. It just scares me a little bit. Now, obviously, the Bears number one in the NFL at generating turnovers. That's fantastic, and you're going to need that because they're also not great at the whole stopping the offense part. The Bears allow the 4th most yards per game and the 10th most points per game. Now, obviously, the points aspect is helped by just how many turnovers they generate, but in terms of down-to-down consistency, man, there's a lot to be desired there, as the Bears are just really not able to consistently stop offenses enough. When they generate turnovers, it's great. When they don't, it's really frustrating to watch. Again, a Lions fan was frustrated with the Bears defense throughout the season. They're very weird. But if they're able to generate turnovers, they should be able to stay above water. But the other thing I do want to mention, the Bears have a weird habit of sleepwalking through the first 3 quarters of football games and then waking up in the 4th quarter and trying to mount a comeback. We saw it against the Packers in that fantastic overtime win that basically clinched them the division. But we also saw it in more recently with the Lions in Week 18, but we've seen it throughout the season where they are a 4th quarter team, which on the one hand is good because it means they play their best when it matters at the end of the game. But you also just got to be careful with getting into too big of a deficit early in the game. So just be aware of that too. Next up on the list is the Philadelphia Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions. This team is super weird, but it is super easy to break down. They have a wicked defense. They've got some unbelievable players on that side of the ball. Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, Jalen Carter, even Jordan Davis in the middle is doing some great things this season. They've got some fantastic linebackers, probably the best linebackers in the league. Like, I could go through the whole defense. They've got an unbelievable defense, and they are going to be hard to score on in the playoffs. But on the flip side, their offense has been so mind-bogglingly mid this entire season, and it really seems like whenever they switch offensive coordinators, like they go through offensive coordinators like no other team in the league at this point, and it is either like unbelievable and they're going to the Super Bowl, or they are just like painfully mid and they make the playoffs off pure talent, but then flame out once they get there. And it is going to be a very weird matchup with the Niners, because the Niners are kind of their opposite, where the Niners have a really good offense, but they have they're just injured to hell on defense. So just a very interesting matchup there, but the Eagles, bizarre team. Next up, we got the 4 seed Carolina Panthers, and I'll be honest, of all the teams in the playoffs, this is the one that is the hardest to come up with a reason why they're going to make the Super Bowl or even win the thing. So I'm going voodoo magic. They've got some nice pieces. I like Bryce Young more than most. I like Tet McMillan. I like Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, both of them. Like, they've got some good pieces on offense. I like Jalen Coker as well, kind of as the slot wide receiver. And I like some of the pieces they have on defense. J.C. Horn is wicked. But let's be honest, they were an 8-9 team, and it took a little bit of some help, we'll say, to get into the playoffs in the first place after they split with the Buccaneers. So they just are not up to snuff. Now, granted, they have this weird ability to play really good against some really good teams. I know they didn't do so well against Seattle, but they beat the Rams earlier this season, which they actually play the Rams, so that kind of works out for them as well. So they've proven that they can hang in with good teams, and so it's just going to come down to, can they make enough plays on 3rd and, let's be honest, 4th downs in this one or all playoffs if they're going to go down that road. But yeah, this team just has a talent deficiency compared to the rest of the field, so that's going to be tough to overcome. Next up, we have those LA Rams, and honestly, this is the team that A few weeks ago, I was the highest on because I view them as probably the best overall roster in the league. They've got the, possible MVP in Matt Stafford. He's one of the two finalists, him and Drake May. And then they've got good running backs. They got a good offensive line. They've got good wide receivers, especially if Devontae Adams is back. They've got great pieces on defense. They've got the most balanced roster. They've got good coaching. On paper, they are the logical Super Bowl favorite. Again, you can argue Seattle because they're the 1 seed. But overall, I think the Rams have the best roster. However, they don't always play like it. Their secondary, the pass defense leaves a little bit to be desired, but the Rams just also have not lived up to their potential consistently enough this season. It seems like every game there's a new flaw, whether it be that Seattle game that went to overtime where their defense completely fell apart. They've also had games where the offense was a little bit anemic. So if they put it all together, I don't think anyone beats them. But they have to actually put it all together. It's kind of like the Eagles conundrum over the past few years, where it's like the talent is there. Now you just have to, play like it. Next up, the 6th seed San Francisco 49ers. Now, I was talking about how the Rams have some really good coaching. The 49ers have fantastic coaching. Kyle Shanahan, say what you will about him in the Super Bowl. He's just a fantastic coach outside of Super Bowl games. And then Robert Saleh is doing a great job with that defense. We'll talk about the defense in a second. But offensively, the Niners, incredibly diverse offense there. The Shanahan system is fantastic. Yes, it's very QB friendly, but Brock Purdy has also been fantastic down the stretch. Had a bad game against Seattle in Week 18, yes. But leading into that game, he had 3 or 4 gems as he was just absolutely fantastic. Also helped me win a fantasy championship. So shout out to you, Brock. Christian McCaffrey, still one of the best in the business at running back. George Kittle, one of the best he is the best tight end in the league. Well, I guess you could argue Trey McBride now, but Kittle still got him beat with the blocking aspect. Overall, Kittle is still the best tight end, and they've got some good wide receivers still. So they've got a great offense, but again, that defense, Robert Saleh has been doing a very valiant job with that defense, but they're just so injured at this point. It's not even a talent issue. They're just injured. It's not their fault. It's the 49ers thing. They're always hurt. So, like I said with the Eagles, that is going to be a fascinating matchup to watch because it's basically just the opposites playing each other. Then we've got the Green Bay Packers rounding out the NFC. Such a weird team. They've got a very, very explosive offense. Jordan Love loves to chuck the ball downfield. Christian Watson, since he's come back, has been an absolute revelation and honestly kind of turned the tide of the Packers season because for as good as that defense was early on, the offense was just missing something, and apparently that thing was Christian Watson because once he came back, everything started to click into place. Even when Jordan Love was injured and battling injuries and whatnot, Malik Willis was doing a fantastic job as well. The deep ball, the Packers are going to chuck it. I swear their average depth of target on 3rd and 4th down has to be higher than anyone else in the league because they just love to chuck it downfield, give their guys a chance, draw pass interferences sometimes, make a catch sometimes, whatever. But their offense, they are built for explosiveness. They are built to come back in games if need be. And then their defense is also built to protect the lead. So that if they're behind in the game, you can trust their offense to try to make those splash plays. If they're leading in a game, Josh Jacobs can help the ground game, but their defense is built to protect the lead. However, as for the downside, obviously a big one, Micah Parsons not being there, that is a massive loss for that defense, and they've been doing a decent job of kind of overcoming that loss, but that is still taking a bit of the oomph out of the defense overall. But as for another, Matt LaFleur, his teams just have a weird habit of playing not their best in big games. I don't want to say that they have zero dog because there are certainly teams in the league that have less dog than them in big games. But man, Matt LaFleur-led teams just have not been great in the playoffs outside of that one game in Dallas a couple of years ago. And they are also prone to some wild discipline issues we've seen over the years where they just take some really stupid penalties at really stupid times in big games. So I have my doubts about Matt LaFleur's ability to coach a team through big games. Maybe he'll prove me wrong, maybe he won't, but that's my biggest concern. Moving over to the AFC now, starting off with the Denver Broncos, and this is going to be similar to the 1 seed in the NFC because my biggest pro for them is they have a wicked defense, but more so the Seahawks impress me so much with their ability to just play nickel. They have such a great secondary that allows them to do anything. The Broncos have such a wicked front. They obviously have Patrick Surtain, who is the best corner in football. That helps a lot. And they've got a good secondary, but their front seven has been fantastic. Zach Allen, Nick Benito, Jonathan Cooper, fantastic guys up front. They led the NFL in sacks by a good margin, and they are as threatening of a defense in pure passing situations as you're going to find. Obviously, other teams force more turnovers than them, like the Bears led the league in turnovers, but the Broncos' ability to generate pressure, force QBs into uncomfortable situations, and then their secondary, like I said, is very good as well. And Pat Surtain just deletes half of the field. So the Broncos' defense is absolutely spectacular. But their offense is just really weird and inconsistent, and I don't know if that's a Bo Nix thing. I don't know if that's a play calling thing, but we've just seen numerous examples where it's kind of like the Bears conundrum where they'll just sleepwalk through the first 3 quarters of a game sometimes, especially on offense, and they'll wake up to an extent in the fourth quarter. Obviously, the Giants game is a massive outlier in that category because they scored like 33 points in the fourth quarter. That's not happening in the playoffs, point blank, but you just can't go 3 quarters without getting a touchdown in most games or getting points at all in most games and expect to win. So the Broncos have got to be more consistent on offense. Again, I don't know what the answer to that is. Maybe it's figuring out the run game. Maybe it's just Bo Nix playing better at the start of games. That could be it. But I don't want to just put that squarely on Bo's shoulders. The offense is just, in general, a little out of sorts at times. Moving on to the 2 seed New England Patriots. This one is very simple. They're pros. Drake May, the possible MVP. It's him or Matthew Stafford. He was the best QB in the AFC this year. At just 23 years old, he has emerged as one of the best QBs in the league, or at least a top 10 QB. You can rank him where you're going to rank him, but he has had an absolutely fantastic season, and he is going to do his best to lead the Patriots to victory. However, this is a weird one because, look, most of these teams have legitimate concerns with their style of play or coaching or injuries or whatnot. The Patriots, we just don't really know how serious they are because they haven't really played anybody. They've had the softest schedule in the entire league. That's not debatable. That's a fact. And to emphasize that, the Denver Broncos had, by strength of schedule, the second softest schedule in the NFL, with their opponents having a win percentage of just 42%. The Patriots' opponents had a strength of schedule of .391. 391. Their schedule was so painfully soft that we just don't know if they actually stack up to elite competition or not. Point blank. The New England Patriots went 14-3, and they only beat one team that was above 500, one playoff team, and they've also lost to them because it was the Buffalo Bills, who are in their division, who they split the season series with. So I don't even know how real are they? We have no idea. Next up, we've got the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'll be honest, going through all the teams in the playoffs, I think this is the team that quietly has impressed me the most. They are the hottest team in the entire league. Trevor Lawrence has just been on an absolutely ridiculous pace down the stretch of this season. Over the last 6 games, Trevor Lawrence is averaging 267 pass yards per game. He's thrown 15 touchdowns and has thrown just 1 interception. He has suddenly, over the back half of this year, looked like the generational prospect he was when he was coming out of college. He's been absolutely spectacular. Not to mention, the Jaguars also boast the best run defense in all of football. They're a full 6 yards ahead of the Broncos, who are the second best run defense, which the Jaguars are just playing out of their minds down the stretch, and they've beaten the Broncos. They've gone toe to toe. They put up a ton of points on the Texans earlier in the season, so they are just really good. Honestly, my biggest concern with them is just, do they have enough of those star level players that'll make a difference? They've got a great group of pass catchers on offense. Parker Washington and Brenton Strange and Jacoby Myers has been fantastic. I know Brian Thomas hasn't been as good, but they've got a good batch of guys. On defense, they've got good players. Outside of Josh Hines-Allen, I don't know if they have any X factors per se. But that's my biggest concern, is just, do they have enough X factors that are going to be able to make plays in the biggest moments? But honestly, the Jags are just super solid right now. Then you've got the 4 seed Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers BS never dies. It never dies. How do they keep getting away with this? I don't know. But Tyler Loop misses a 44-yard field goal. and the Steelers are in the playoffs as a result. It was an absolutely chaotic game on Sunday Night Football. Now, honestly, that's the biggest reason I have. Steelers BS. I don't have as much of a logical reason why the Steelers could go on a run. It's similar to the Panthers. Obviously, the Steelers are better than the Panthers, but they are the weakest team in the AFC. Mike Tomlin's voodoo magic will just never fade, though. So you never know. But the number one reason why I don't really just believe in them in general is the run defense is very Jekyll and Hyde, but it's the offense. It just doesn't have a lot of explosiveness. Now, I know they had their moments in Week 18, a couple of busted coverages by the Ravens, and I know, again, I can't talk. I'm a Lions fan because the Steelers turned into the greatest rush offense of all time. Jaylen Warren turned into prime Jamal Charles, and the Lions couldn't stop anything against the Steelers. However, for the most part in this season, the Steelers are one of the least explosive offenses in the entire league. Aaron Rodgers is among the quarterbacks that throw the fewest passes over 20-plus air yards, and their run game, one of the least explosive run games in all of football. So they just I don't know if they have the ability, if they get down by a couple of scores in the fourth quarter, to score quick enough to come back in games. They're going to have to control time of possession, and they're just going to need some good plays by that defense. I just don't believe. Next up, we've got the Houston Texans, and this is kind of like the Eagles conundrum, but to the max, because the Texans, I mean, I've talked about some wicked defenses in this playoff bracket. Between the Seahawks, Broncos, Texans, Jags, the Texans might be the best defense in all of football. Again, Seahawks and Broncos fans might take umbrage with that statement, but the Texans are just absolutely spectacular on that side of the ball. There's nothing else to say. They are just so good. But the con, similar to the Eagles, is their offense is just, I don't know. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's passable, and other times it's really not, and they just need better, straight up. They're just kind of below average on offense. They're in the bottom half of the league in all the yardage categories. They're in the top half in points, but that's also because the defense is so good that puts the offense in advantageous spots. So you're going to need the running backs. You're going to need Woody Marks to do something. I don't know. But it's going to come down to C.J. Stroud, Nico Collins, some of the younger wide receivers they got out there as well. But it's those two. It's Stroud and Nico. You need those two to make plays. Stroud hasn't done it consistently enough since his rookie season, to be honest. He's got to step up. Because that defense is going to put them in good spots, but the offense has got to take advantage. Next up, you've got the Buffalo Bills. This is kind of similar to the Patriots one, because the pro, Josh Allen, he is a absolute beast. He's probably the single biggest difference maker in the entire playoff picture. He is a legit superstar, former MVP. He's fantastic. But, man, that run defense sucks. The Bills are fifth last in the NFL. They are allowing 136 yards per game on the ground. If they run into a team that can run the ball, they will lose, because that team will be able to keep Josh Allen off the field. They'll be able to drive down the field and get points, and the Bills are going to be put in spots where Allen has to be Superman in order to stay competitive. And look, Allen is capable of that, but that's not a spot you want to put him in. That being said, this has to be the year for the Bills. There's no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson. The Chiefs are the real boogeyman here, but Lamar is still very good, obviously. You have no excuses. If the Bills don't get it done this year, there are going to be a lot of doubts whether they're ever going to get it done with Josh Allen, because this has to be it. This has to be it. This is as open of a field as you're going to find. This is as open of a playoff picture you're going to find. No Mahomes to get over. Josh, this is your time. I'm not even saying that I'm cheering for the Bills. I just mean this has to be it. Last but not least, we got the LA Chargers. And now I do really like Justin Herbert and some of the receivers they got over there. I love Amari and Hampton. But the biggest reason is actually the defense. The defense has been balling out. It's not nearly it's not on the same tier as some of the elite defenses like the Texans, like the Broncos, like the Seahawks. But it's still a good unit, and it's been keeping them in games, especially when Herbert's been dealing with injuries, and especially with the number one reason for concern. Their offensive line is dead. Herbert has been doing his best to just stay alive, push the ball downfield, But man alive, that offensive line is decimated. Obviously, both their tackles are the big stories here with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater. When those guys are healthy, the Chargers actually have one of the better offensive lines in the league. But without them, especially without both of them, I'm sorry, Herbert. It's just a tough hill to climb. So that's everyone in the playoff picture. As again, this is as wide open a playoffs as I can recall. I'm so excited to watch all these games because, again, I have no idea what's going to happen. And let's be honest, you can pretend like you know what's going to happen. No, you don't. No, you don't. Even if you're a fan of the Seahawks, Broncos, Rams, Niners, Eagles, Bills, Patriots, whoever you cheer for, you don't feel 100% confident, that's for sure. I'd be shocked if anyone could stand on the table and be like, yeah, this team's going to win. 100% believe it. I respect fans that are like, yeah, I think that we can win. Because, yeah, of course you do. Why wouldn't you? It's as wide open a year as you can name. But, man, there's also just as much reason for concern because every matchup is losable. Every team could be out of it just like that. It's exciting. This is what we wanted. This is what we've been begging for, is parity, right? Parity in the NFL. This is what it looks like, where no one knows what's going on, and we just get to sit back and enjoy the ride. So that's going to be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit like and subscribe if you made it this far, and leave a comment with your Super Bowl predictions, or let me know who you cheer for and how confident you are that your team is going to go on a deep run. I'd love to hear from you guys. And aside from that, that's going to be it, my friends. So I'll be back this weekend. I'll stream a couple of these games, and until then, cheers.